The midnight call that destroyed my world wasn't from the hospital. It was from my daughter-in-law, and her voice was too calm. My son Ethan was dead at 42, and while I could barely breathe through my grief, Vanessa was already asking about his bank accounts. At the funeral, I watched her perform tears for the cameras, while our grandson Noah sobbed himself sick in my arms. Then the lawyer read Ethan's will, and I understood why my son had been so afraid those last few months. He'd left me everything, and a letter warning me she'd come for it all. If you want to see how far a mother's love can reach beyond the grave, stay until the end. Drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Hit that like button. You're going to need something to hold on to. I need to tell you something about the worst night of my life, and I need you to understand it wasn't the night my son died. It was 3 hours after, when I finally answered my phone. The hospital had already called. The neighbor had already called. But when Vanessa's name lit up my screen at 3:47 a.m., I knew something was wrong beyond Ethan being gone. A mother knows. We feel things in our bones that don't make sense until later, when the truth comes crawling out of its hole. Margaret. Not Mom. Not even a sob. Just my name, flat as a dinner plate. I was still on my kitchen floor where I'd collapsed after the hospital's call. My robe was soaked with coffee I'd dropped. The house was dark except for the light over the stove, the one Ethan used to leave on when he'd sneak down for midnight snacks as a kid. Vanessa, I managed. My voice sounded like gravel. Is Noah? Noah's fine, he's sleeping. A pause. Margaret, we need to talk about arrangements. Arrangements. My son had been dead for less than 4 hours, and she wanted to talk about arrangements. Not about how it happened. Not about whether he suffered. Not about the last thing he said. I should have known then. But grief makes you stupid. It fills up all the spaces in your brain where suspicion should live. I can't, I started. The funeral home needs decisions by morning. I'm going with Westlake Memorial. They do beautiful work, very tasteful. She said it like she was picking out curtains. I've already selected the casket, mahogany. Ethan would want something dignified. My son was scared of the dark his whole childhood. Used to make me check his closet until he was 12. And she was putting him in a box in the ground, talking about wood grain. I want to see him, I said. The viewing is Friday. I'll text you the details. Vanessa, I want to see my son now. Silence, long enough that I checked if the call had dropped. That's not possible. The hospital has protocols, and honestly, Margaret, I don't think you want to remember him that way. The aneurysm, it wasn't peaceful. His face... I hung up, actually threw the phone across the kitchen. It hit the wall and cracked, but I didn't care. I sat there and spilled coffee in the dark, and I screamed. The kind of screaming that comes from a place so deep you didn't know it existed until something rips it open. My son was dead. My boy. The baby I'd rocked through colic and night terrors, the kid who'd brought me dandelions like they were roses. The man who'd called me every Sunday without fail, even after he married Vanessa and she started monitoring his phone like a prison warden. He was 42 years old, healthy, ran 5 miles every morning, didn't smoke, barely drank, and now he was gone, and his wife was shopping for caskets with the enthusiasm of someone picking out a wedding cake. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ethan at 6 years old, gap-toothed and laughing. At 16, trying to teach me how to use a computer. At 30, holding newborn Noah with tears streaming down his face, whispering, I'm going to be better than my dad was. His father had left us when Ethan was 7, packed a bag during dinner and walked out like we were a restaurant he didn't plan to return to. Ethan had made me promise, that he'd never do that to his own kid, that he'd be present, involved, steady. And he was. For 10 years, he was the father he'd sworn to be, until Vanessa started changing the locks. Not literally, but close enough. Little things at first. Noah needs consistency, Margaret. It's better if visits are scheduled. Then scheduled visits became monthly. Then monthly became holidays only. Then holidays became, we're actually doing Christmas in Aspen this year. Maybe next time. Ethan never said anything was wrong. But I'm his mother. I could hear it in the spaces between his words. The way he'd pause too long before saying, we're good, or change the subject when I asked about Vanessa. The way he stopped calling on Sundays and started texting instead. Short messages, no details, like someone was reading over his shoulder. The last time I saw him in person was 3 months ago. He'd shown up at my door without calling, which he never did. Vanessa hated spontaneity. Mom. He looked exhausted, thinner. His eyes had this hollowed-out quality, like he wasn't sleeping. Can I come in? Of course, baby. You okay? He didn't answer right away, just walked to my kitchen table, the same one where he'd done homework, eaten 1,000 dinners, told me about his first girlfriend, and sat down like his bones were made of lead. I need to ask you something, he said finally, and I need you to just listen. Don't interrupt. Don't ask questions yet, okay? My stomach dropped. Ethan, you're scaring me. Just listen. He pulled out his phone, scrolled for a minute, then set it down between us. If something happens to me, don't. Mom, if something happens, accident, illness, whatever, I need you to promise me you'll fight for Noah. What are you talking about? Why would I need to fight? Vanessa's not who I thought she was. His voice cracked. She's not who she pretends to be, and Noah, he's just a kid. He doesn't understand why his mom looks at him like he's an inconvenience, why she lights up when her phone rings but barely notices when he shows her a good grade. I reached for his hand. Ethan, if you're unhappy, I've got it handled. I'm taking steps. Legal things. But if something goes wrong, if I don't... He stopped. Breathed. Just promise me. Fight for him. Don't let her... Another stop. Don't let her erase him the way she's been trying to erase me. I promised. Of course I promised. But I thought he was being paranoid. Dramatic. Going through a rough patch in his marriage and catastrophizing. 3 months later, he was dead. The funeral was on a Friday. Vanessa had planned everything down to the flower arrangements. White lilies, expensive but soulless. The kind of flowers you see in hotel lobbies. I got there early. Needed to see him alone before the performance started. The funeral director was a soft-spoken woman named Patricia, who kept apologizing for my loss in that practiced way people do when death is their business. She led me to the viewing room, and there he was, my son. In a mahogany casket that probably cost more than my car. Wearing a suit I'd never seen before. Charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, nothing like the jeans and hoodies he actually lived in. He looked wrong, too still, too waxy. They'd done something to his face that made him look like a stranger. This wasn't my Ethan. This was a prop in Vanessa's grief theater. I stood there for 20 minutes just looking at him, memorizing details. The scar on his chin from when he crashed his bike at 9, the cowlick at his hairline that never laid flat, the laugh lines around his eyes that shouldn't exist on a man in a casket at 42. I should have pushed harder, I whispered. When you came to me scared, I should have made you talk. Should have seen... Margaret? I turned. Daniel Mercer stood in the doorway. Ethan's attorney and supposedly his friend. Though I'd always wondered about that. Daniel had this shark quality. Smart, polished, always calculating the angles. Daniel, I wiped my eyes. Thank you for coming. Of course. He stepped inside, hands in his pockets. Looked at Ethan's casket with an expression I couldn't read. He was a good man. Didn't deserve this. No one deserves this. True. He paused. Margaret, I need to speak with you after the service. Privately. There are some things, legal matters, that need immediate attention. Can it wait? I'm afraid not. His eyes met mine. Ethan left very specific instructions. Time-sensitive ones. Before I could respond, voices echoed from the hallway. Vanessa had arrived. She swept in like she was walking a red carpet, black Armani dress, Louboutin heels, sunglasses indoors. Her grief was accessorized. Behind her, Noah shuffled along in an ill-fitting suit, eyes already red from crying. Grandma! He broke away from Vanessa and crashed into me, 9 years old and sobbing into my stomach. Grandma, I don't understand. Dad was fine. He was fine. We played catch on Saturday, and he promised we'd go camping, and now he's... I know, baby. I know. I held him tight, and over his head I watched Vanessa check her phone. Not glance, not quick peek. Full-on scrolling, thumbs moving, face illuminated by the screen while her son fell apart 6 feet away. Noah, come here. Vanessa's voice had that sharp edge she used when people were watching. You're wrinkling Margaret's dress. It's fine, I said. It's not. Noah, now. He peeled himself away, wiping his face with his sleeve. Vanessa tisked and pulled out a handkerchief, monogrammed, probably expensive, and dabbed at his cheeks like he was a smudge on her image. There. Better. She turned to me and her smile was plastic. Margaret, thank you for coming early. I wanted to talk before things get chaotic. About what? Logistics. The reception after, the thank you cards, the estate. I know this is overwhelming for you, so I've handled most of it. I just need you to sign off on a few things. Sign off? Daniel will explain, but essentially, since Ethan and I were married, everything defaults to me. The house, the cars, his accounts, standard procedure. But there are some joint assets with your name that need to be transferred. Nothing complicated, just paperwork. My hands went cold. I don't think Mrs. Holloway? Patricia appeared again, wringing her hands. Guests are starting to arrive. Would you like a few more private minutes, or we're ready, Vanessa said. Decided for all of us. Took Noah's hand and positioned herself near the casket like she was posing for a portrait. The grieving widow, the devoted mother. I wanted to scream. The service was exactly what you'd expect. Vanessa had hired a minister who'd never met Ethan to deliver platitudes about a man he didn't know. Friends and colleagues filed through, offering condolences that bounced off Vanessa like rain off glass. She thanked everyone with the same scripted grace, never breaking character. Noah sat between us in the front row. He held my hand the entire time, squeezing so hard my fingers went numb. Every time someone talked about Ethan, his kindness, his dedication, his love for his family, Noah's grip tightened, like he was trying to hold on to something solid while the world dissolved around him. Vanessa didn't touch him once. I watched her, though, studied her, the way she teared up at exactly the right moments, the way she leaned into conversations with men in expensive suits, touching their arms, laughing softly at their stories about Ethan, the way she kept checking her phone, angling it so no one could see the screen. And I started cataloging, mentally filing away every wrong detail, every off note. This wasn't grief. This was networking. After the burial, which Noah could barely stand through, literally swaying on his feet while Vanessa stood dry-eyed and straight-backed, people filtered to the reception at some country club Vanessa had rented. I'd wanted something simple. She'd wanted impressive. She got what she wanted. She always did. I was standing near the catering table trying to force down a sandwich I didn't want when Daniel appeared at my elbow. We need to talk, he said quietly. Now. Daniel, I can't leave Noah. 5 minutes. There's an office upstairs. This can't wait. Something in his voice made me follow. The office was all leather and dark wood, the kind of place where rich men made deals that ruined lives. Daniel closed the door and locked it. What's going on? I asked. He pulled a manila folder from his briefcase, set it on the desk between us. Ethan's will. Vanessa said everything goes to her. Vanessa is incorrect. He opened the folder. 3 weeks before he died, Ethan came to my office. He'd been planning this for months, but something happened, he wouldn't tell me what, that accelerated his timeline. He redid his entire estate plan. My heart was pounding. And? The house, the one he and Vanessa live in, is in your name, has been for 6 weeks. He transferred the deed. I sat down hard. What? The cars, same thing, titled to you. His investment accounts, he liquidated most of them and moved the funds into a trust for Noah with you as trustee. Vanessa gets his checking account, which had about $30,000 in it, and his personal effects. That's it. That's impossible. She would have known. He set up the trust through a separate firm, moved assets carefully, used his work address for correspondence. She had no idea. Daniel pulled out another document. But this is what you really need to see. It was a letter. Ethan's handwriting. My name at the top. Mom, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I'm so sorry. Sorry I didn't tell you everything. Sorry I let it get this bad. Sorry I'm putting this on you. But I need you to understand, Vanessa is not who she seems. She's been having an affair with a man named Cole Mercer for at least 8 months. I have proof. Photos, texts, bank statements showing gifts I never bought. She's been planning her exit for a while now, just waiting for the right moment. The problem is Noah. She doesn't want him. Not really. He's a complication to her future plans. I've heard her on the phone with Cole talking about minimizing obligations and joint custody being enough. She wants to be free, Mom, and Noah's going to be collateral damage. I can't let that happen. Everything I've done, the will, the transfers, the trust, it's to protect him. She's going to fight you. She's going to say I was unstable, that you manipulated me, that this isn't legal. Don't back down. Daniel has everything documented. The transfers are airtight. Watch her. Document everything. She'll slip up. She won't be able to help herself. And when she does, when she shows everyone what she really is, fight for my son. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry this is how it has to be, but you're the only person I trust to do this right. Ethan. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped the letter. When did he write this? 3 weeks ago, same day he changed everything. Daniel leaned back. Margaret, I need to know. Are you prepared for what's coming? Because Vanessa is about to find out she inherited almost nothing, and she's going to lose her mind. I don't care. You should. She has resources, connections. She'll hire the best lawyers money can buy. Well, money she doesn't have yet, but she'll find it. This is going to get ugly. I looked at the letter again. My son's last words to me. His final request. Fight for my son. Let it get ugly, I said. I'm not backing down. Daniel smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a shark who just spotted blood in the water. Good, because the reading of the will is tomorrow at 10, and I can't wait to see her face. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept reading Ethan's letter, looking for hidden meanings, for clues I'd missed. She's been planning her exit. Noah's going to be collateral damage. Watch her. So I did. The next morning, I drove to the lawyer's office early, sat in my car across the street and waited. Vanessa arrived exactly on time in Ethan's BMW, the one that was now legally mine. She was on the phone, laughing, actually laughing, 2 days after burying her husband. She ended the call as she walked in, smiled at the receptionist, checked her makeup in a compact mirror. I wanted to hate her, but mostly I was just tired. Tired of pretending, tired of being polite, tired of swallowing my suspicions to keep the peace. Ethan had given me permission to stop swallowing. I got out of my car and went inside. The reading took place in a conference room with too much glass and not enough warmth. Daniel sat at the head of the table. Vanessa and I sat across from each other, close enough that I could smell her perfume, something expensive, something Ethan couldn't afford on his salary. Thank you both for coming, Daniel started. Professional, detached. I'll keep this brief. Ethan's will is straightforward, with a few unexpected provisions. Vanessa leaned forward. Unexpected? Let me read it. He opened the document, cleared his throat. I, Ethan James Holloway, being of sound mind and body, the legal language was boring, standard stuff, until it wasn't. To my wife, Vanessa Marie Holloway, I leave my personal checking account currently holding approximately $30,000 and all personal effects not otherwise specified. Vanessa blinked. And? That's it. What do you mean, that's it? What about the house, the cars, his investment accounts? The house was transferred to Margaret Holloway 6 weeks ago. Deed recorded with the county. Both vehicles are titled to Margaret as of 5 weeks ago. The investment accounts were liquidated and placed in a trust for Noah, with Margaret as trustee and primary guardian should anything happen to both parents. I watched the color drain from Vanessa's face, then flood back, angry red. This is fraud. It's not. Everything was done legally, with Ethan's full consent and capacity. I have documentation. He was dying. He didn't know what he was doing. He wasn't dying 6 weeks ago. Medical records confirm he was in perfect health until the aneurysm, and he was very clear about his intentions. Vanessa turned to me. Her eyes were ice. You did this. You poisoned him against me. I didn't even know, I said quietly. He never told me. Bullshit. She stood up, chair scraping. You've hated me from the beginning. You couldn't stand that he chose me over you, so you manipulated him, probably while he was sick or depressed or, Mrs. Holloway, I'd be very careful about your accusations. Daniel's voice was sharp. Everything I've described is legally sound and thoroughly documented. If you'd like to contest the will, that's your right. But I should warn you, Ethan anticipated that possibility. He left a very detailed letter explaining his reasoning, including documentation of your extramarital affair with Cole Mercer. Vanessa went still. Completely, utterly still. That's what I thought, Daniel continued. Now, there are a few more items. Ethan specified that Margaret should have full access to Noah during this transition period. He also requested that you not remove Noah from the state without Margaret's written consent. You can't enforce that. Actually, as part of the trust agreement governing Noah's assets, I can. If you violate those terms, the trust activates an emergency guardianship clause. Margaret becomes Noah's legal guardian, and you get supervised visitation. I hadn't known that part. Ethan had thought of everything. Vanessa grabbed her purse. I'm calling my lawyer. Please do, Daniel said. Have them contact me directly. She stormed out. Didn't say another word, just left, heels clicking on marble, fury radiating off her like heat. I sat there shaking. Is it really airtight? As airtight as these things get. She can fight it, but she won't win. Ethan was meticulous. Daniel paused. The real question is what happens next? With Noah. What do you mean? Ethan wanted you to have him. But unless Vanessa voluntarily surrenders custody or does something legally disqualifying, she's still his mother. You'll have to share him. And based on what I just saw, she's going to make that as painful as possible. He was right. The war had just begun, and my grandson was standing in the middle of the battlefield, not understanding why his whole world was burning down. Vanessa's lawyer called me at 6 the next morning. I know because I was already awake, staring at my coffee like it held answers. Mrs. Holloway, this is Richard Benson from Whitmore and Associates. I represent Vanessa Holloway in the matter of your son's estate. I'd never been threatened before breakfast. There's a first time for everything. It's early, Mr. Benson. I apologize, but time is of the essence. My client wishes to resolve this matter quickly and amicably. She's prepared to offer you a very generous settlement in exchange for returning the assets your son mistakenly transferred. Mistakenly? Yes. It's clear he was under duress, possibly suffering from an undiagnosed mental condition. We have medical experts prepared to testify. He had a brain aneurysm, not dementia. Aneurysms can cause behavioral changes months before rupture. Paranoia, poor judgment, impulsivity. The transfers occurred during this compromised period. A court will see that. My hand tightened around the phone. So you're going to argue my son was crazy. I'm going to argue he wasn't himself, which means those transfers aren't valid. Now, we can do this the easy way. You sign everything back to Vanessa, she compensates you for your trouble, and we all move forward. Or we can do this in court, which will be expensive and ugly for everyone, especially Noah. There it was. The threat wrapped in concern. Don't you dare use my grandson as leverage. I'm not. I'm stating facts. Custody battles are traumatic for children. Noah's already lost his father. Does he need to lose stability too? I hung up, stood there shaking so hard I had to put the coffee down before I dropped it. He called back immediately. I didn't answer. He called 4 more times, left voicemails that got progressively less polite. The last one ended with, "This is your final courtesy notice before we file." I called Daniel. "They're moving fast," he said when I explained. "That's good." "How is that good?" "Because they're scared. They had a real case, they'd take their time, build it properly. This smells like panic." I heard papers shuffling. "Did you record the call?" "No, Start recording everything, every call, every conversation. If she shows up at your house, record it. If she sends emails, save them. Documentation is ammunition." "I don't want a war, Daniel. I just want Noah safe." "I know, but she's already declared war. You're just catching up." He was right. I hated that he was right. Noah called that afternoon, Vanessa's number, but his voice. "Grandma?" He sounded small, scared. "Can I come stay with you?" "Of course, baby. Always." "What's wrong?" "Mom's yelling a lot. She threw stuff. She said..." His voice dropped to a whisper. "She said you stole Dad's money." My stomach clenched. "That's not true, Noah." "I know, but she keeps saying it. And Mr. Benson is here, and they keep talking about court, and I don't understand." He was crying now. "Why is everyone fighting? Dad just died. Why can't everyone just stop? Put your mom on the phone. She won't. Noah, please." Rustling, muffled voices. Then Vanessa, sharp as broken glass. "What?" "Let me take him for a few days. He needs space from all this." "Absolutely not. Vanessa, he's scared. He just lost his father. Being around lawyers and arguments isn't helping." "You don't get to decide what helps my son. He asked to come here. He's 9. He doesn't know what he needs." She lowered her voice, but I could hear the venom. "And you've already poisoned him against me, haven't you? Turned him into your little spy." "I've barely seen him since the funeral." "Exactly, but somehow he thinks you're the safe one. I wonder why." A pause. "Stay away from my family, Margaret. I won't ask again." She hung up. I sat there with the dead phone in my hand, listening to Noah's scared voice echo in my head. "Can I come stay with you?" That night, I drove past their house. Ethan's house. My house, technically. Though it didn't feel like mine. It felt like a crime scene. The lights were all on. I could see shadows moving behind the curtains. Vanessa's BMW in the driveway. And another car I didn't recognize. Expensive. Black. Probably the lawyer's. I parked down the street and waited. I don't know what I was waiting for. Some sign. Some proof that I was doing the right thing. At 9:30, a man came out. Tall, silver hair, suit even at night. He and Vanessa stood on the porch, talking. She was animated, gesturing, touching his arm. He nodded, said something that made her laugh. Laugh. 4 days after her husband's funeral. I took a photo. My hands were shaking so badly it came out blurry, but you could see them, see her smiling. The man left. Vanessa went back inside. A few minutes later, Noah's bedroom light went out. I wondered if she'd tucked him in. If she'd asked about his day. If she'd noticed he'd been crying. Probably not. The lawsuit came 3 days later, hand-delivered by a process server who apologized while handing me papers that might as well have been a declaration of war. Vanessa Holloway versus Margaret Holloway. Contest of estate. Emergency motion to freeze assets and reverse fraudulent transfers. Daniel read it over the phone while I tried not to throw up. "It's garbage," he said. "Legally speaking. But it's going to tie things up for months." "Months?" "At least. She's asking for a full psychiatric evaluation of Ethan's mental state in the months before his death. That means subpoenaing medical records, interviewing everyone who knew him, possibly exhuming his body for additional tests." "She'd do that? To her own husband? For money?" "Yeah, she would." Papers rustled. "There's more. She's also filing for a restraining order against you. Claims you've been harassing her and Noah. Following them, making threatening phone calls." "That's insane." "Can you prove it's insane?" I took one photo, from a public street, which she'll use as evidence of stalking. He sighed. "Margaret, you need to be more careful. I know you're worried about Noah, but you can't give her ammunition." "So what do I do? Just sit here and hope she doesn't destroy him?" "No, you document, you wait. And when she slips up, and she will, you move." I didn't want to wait. Every day Noah spent in that house with her felt like a day I'd failed him, failed Ethan. But I didn't have a choice. The hearing for the restraining order was 2 weeks out. In the meantime, Vanessa made sure I couldn't see Noah, ignored my calls, blocked my number. Had the school put a note in his file that only she was authorized for pickup. I was being erased, systematically cut out of my grandson's life. On day 6, I got a call from Noah's school. The principal, a woman named Dr. Carson, who'd always been kind to me. "Mrs. Holloway, I'm calling because Noah had an incident today." My heart stopped. "Is he hurt?" "Not physically, but he broke down during class, started crying and couldn't stop. When we called his mother, she said she was busy and asked if he could just wait in the office until pickup." She said, "What?" "I thought you should know. He's not okay, and I don't think anyone at home is noticing. Can I come get him?" "I'm sorry. There's a note in his file. Only his mother. Dr. Carson, please. His father just died. I'm his grandmother. I love him." A long pause. "I could call you if there's another incident, unofficially." "Please." But Mrs. Holloway, whatever's happening between you and his mother, figure it out, because that boy is drowning, and the adults are too busy fighting to throw him a rope. She was right, and I hated her for it. That night, I did something I'm not proud of. I created a new email address, something Vanessa wouldn't recognize. And I sent Noah a message. Hi, Noah. It's Grandma. I know your mom blocked my number. I'm not trying to cause problems. I just want you to know I love you, and I'm here if you need me. You can email me anytime. This is our secret, okay? Just between us. Love, Grandma. He responded 20 minutes later. Grandma, I'm scared. Mom is different. She doesn't talk to me anymore except to yell. She goes out at night and leaves me alone. Yesterday, she forgot to make dinner, and when I asked, she said I was old enough to use a microwave. I miss Dad. I miss you. Can I come live with you? No punctuation. All lowercase. Written by a 9-year-old who was trying not to fall apart. I printed the email, put it in a folder, started building my case. The restraining order hearing was in a courthouse that smelled like floor cleaner and broken dreams. Vanessa showed up in a cream suit, hair perfect, makeup subtle. The grieving widow. The concerned mother. I showed up in a dress I'd bought at Target because I couldn't afford Armani. Her lawyer went first, painted me as obsessed, unstable, claimed I'd been harassing Vanessa, showing up at the house uninvited, trying to turn Noah against his mother. My client is simply trying to grieve and protect her son, Benson said. But Mrs. Holloway won't allow it. She calls constantly, drives by the house, even created a fake email to contact the child behind his mother's back. Wait, how did he know about the email? Then I saw it. Vanessa's phone on the table in front of her, Noah's email account open. She'd been reading his messages, my messages, everything. My lawyer, a woman named Susan Kim, who charged half what Benson did and had twice the spine, stood up. Your Honor, Mrs. Margaret Holloway is the child's grandmother. She has every right to contact her grandson. As for the email, it was created because Mrs. Vanessa Holloway blocked all other communication. A grandmother wanting to maintain contact with her grandchild is not harassment. She's poisoning him against me, Vanessa interjected. The judge gave her a look. Mrs. Holloway, you'll have your turn, Susan continued. Furthermore, we have concerns about the child's welfare. He's struggling at school. His grandmother was contacted by the principal about emotional distress. When the mother was called, she declined to pick him up early, stating she was busy. Vanessa's lawyer jumped up. Hearsay. I have Dr. Carson's statement. Susan handed papers to the judge. She's willing to testify if needed. The judge read in silence. I watched Vanessa's face, saw the crack in her composure. Just for a second, a flash of anger. Counselor, the judge said, looking at Benson, your client has blocked the grandmother from all contact with the child? For the child's protection, yes. And she's basing this on what threat? Mrs. Margaret Holloway is contesting the estate. She's caused significant stress and conflict. My client believes exposure to that conflict is harmful. So the grandmother is being punished for exercising her legal rights? The judge looked at Vanessa. Mrs. Holloway, stand up, please. Vanessa stood, still composed, still performing. How often did the child see his grandmother before his father's death? Maybe once a month? Lie. It had been twice a week until Vanessa started limiting visits. And how's he handling the loss of his father? He's adjusting. Is he in therapy? Pause. Not yet. We're looking into options. 4 weeks after his father's sudden death, you haven't found him a therapist? The judge's voice was dry. Busy with the estate litigation? Vanessa's jaw tightened. I'm handling things as best I can. I'm sure. The judge turned to me. Mrs. Margaret Holloway, stand. I stood. My legs felt like water. Are you harassing this woman? No, Your Honor. I'm trying to be there for my grandson. Have you threatened her? Never. Have you attempted to remove the child from her custody? No. He asked to stay with me. I told him he needed to talk to his mother. Did you create an email account to contact him secretly? Yes. After she blocked my number and refused to let me see him, I was worried about him. The judge looked at both of us. Here's what's going to happen. I'm denying the restraining order. Mrs. Margaret Holloway has shown no evidence of being a threat. However, she looked at me. You will not create secret communication channels with the child. If you want contact, you go through proper channels. But she blocks. Then you petition the court for grandparents' rights. You don't go behind her back. She turned to Vanessa. And you will stop using this child as a weapon. I'm ordering a child welfare evaluation. A social worker will interview Noah, visit the home, and assess whether the current arrangement is in his best interest. Vanessa's face went white. That's not necessary. I'll decide what's necessary. You have 30 days to get that child into therapy. I want documentation, and you will allow the grandmother supervised visits, minimum twice a week, 2 hours each. Your Honor, that's my ruling. Don't make me regret the supervised part. She banged her gavel. Next case. We filed out. Vanessa and her lawyer went one direction. Susan pulled me aside. Don't celebrate yet, she said quietly. She's going to violate that order. I guarantee it. What do I do? Document everything. Every missed visit, every excuse, build your case. She looked at me hard. You want custody of that boy? I want him safe. That's not what I asked. I thought about Noah's email. Can I come live with you? Yes, I said. I want custody. Then get ready, because this is about to get worse. She was right. The first supervised visit was supposed to happen that Saturday. The order said Vanessa had to bring Noah to a neutral location, a family services office, where I'd have 2 hours with him. Saturday came, I showed up at 9. Waited in a room with plastic chairs and children's drawings on the walls. 9:15. No Noah. 9:30. I called Vanessa, straight to voicemail. 9:45. The supervisor, a tired-looking woman named Beth, tried calling, also voicemail. At 10, she said, I'm sorry, Mrs. Holloway. We'll document this as a violation. Where is he? I don't know. But this happens a lot in high-conflict cases. The custodial parent forgets or has an emergency. What do I do? File a contempt motion. Make her explain to the judge. I sat in my car afterward and cried. Not gentle tears, ugly choking sobs, because somewhere my grandson was waiting for me, and I couldn't get to him. That night, another email. Grandma, where were you? Mom said we were supposed to meet, but you didn't come. She said you don't really want to see me, that you're just trying to get Dad's money. That's not true, right? My hands shook, typing the response. Noah, I was there. I waited for 2 hours. Your mom didn't bring you. I don't know why. And I don't want money. I want you. I love you. Please believe that. His response came fast. She lied? I think so, baby. Why would she lie? How do you explain to a 9-year-old that his mother is using him as a bargaining chip, that love and custody are being weaponized? Sometimes adults make mistakes when they're upset, but I'm not giving up on you. I promise. He didn't respond after that. Susan filed the contempt motion Monday morning. The hearing was set for 3 weeks out. In the meantime, another supervised visit was scheduled. This time, Vanessa showed up. But Noah looked wrong, quiet, shut down. He hugged me when he came in, but it was mechanical, like he was going through motions. Hey, baby, I missed you. Hi, Grandma. We sat at a small table. Beth was in the corner pretending to read a magazine but watching everything. How's school? Fine. Made any new friends? No. Want to tell me about your week? Not really. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Just picked at his fingernails and gave one-word answers. Noah, what's wrong? Nothing. Did your mom tell you not to talk to me? His eyes flicked up, then away. She said you're trying to take me away from her. That's not true. She said Dad didn't really want you to have his stuff, that you tricked him when he was sick. Noah, your dad wasn't sick until the aneurysm, and I never tricked him. Then why does Mom say that? Because sometimes people say things that aren't true when they're scared or angry. Are you calling my mom a liar? His voice rose. She's not a liar. You're the one who's lying. You're the one who... He stopped, bit his lip. Who what? Nothing. But I knew. Vanessa had coached him, fed him lines, turned him into her mouthpiece. The rest of the visit was torture. Noah answered in monosyllables and checked the clock every 5 minutes. When time was up, he practically ran out the door. I watched through this window as Vanessa knelt down and hugged him, smoothed his hair, smiled at him, the perfect mother. Then she looked at me through the glass, and she smiled at me too. It was the smile of someone who knew she was winning. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept replaying the visit. Noah's dead eyes, his programmed responses. The way he'd flinched when I reached for his hand. She was erasing me. Slowly, methodically, turning my grandson against me. And I had no idea how to stop it. At 2 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Holloway? A man's voice, familiar, but I couldn't place it. This is Cole Mercer. Everything stopped. Vanessa's friend, he continued. I know this is strange, but I need to talk to you about her, about Noah. Why would you? Because I'm getting the hell out, and I thought you should know what you're dealing with. He sounded drunk or scared. Maybe both. Meet me tomorrow, noon, Riverfront Park. Come alone. I'm not meeting you anywhere. Your choice. But I have information that'll help your custody case, recordings, texts, proof of things she's planning. A pause. She's going to run, Mrs. Holloway, take Noah and disappear. And if you don't move fast, you'll never see him again. He hung up. I sat there in the dark, phone in hand, wondering if this was a trap or the break I'd been waiting for. I didn't sleep after Cole's call. Just sat at my kitchen table, watching the clock crawl toward morning, trying to decide if I was brave enough or stupid enough to meet a man I'd never spoken to who was sleeping with my dead son's wife. At 5 a.m., I called Daniel. This better be life or death, he answered, voice thick with sleep. Cole Mercer called me. Silence. Then I heard rustling, him sitting up. When? 3 hours ago. He wants to meet. Says he has evidence. Says Vanessa's planning to run with Noah. It's a setup. Maybe. Margaret, listen to me very carefully. Do not meet this man. Do not engage. This smells like they're trying to get you to do something that'll hurt your case. Or he's telling the truth. Even if he is, anything he gives you could be inadmissible. Fruit of the poisonous tree. If he obtained information illegally, I don't care about admissible. I care about Noah. Then you should care about not sabotaging your custody case by meeting your son's wife's lover in a goddamn park. His voice softened. I know you're desperate, but this is exactly what she wants. You looking unstable, obsessed, willing to do anything. So I just ignore him? Yes. And you forward me his number so I can have it traced. If he really has information, he can provide it through proper channels. I hung up, stared at my phone. Thought about Noah's face during that visit, the blankness, the coaching. At 11:45, I grabbed my keys. Riverfront Park was mostly empty on a Tuesday noon, a few joggers, some guy walking his dog, and Cole Mercer sitting on a bench by the water looking nothing like I'd imagined. He wasn't some slick businessman in a $1,000 suit. He was maybe 45, jeans and a polo shirt, hair that needed cutting. He looked tired, ordinary. He saw me approaching and stood up. Mrs. Holloway, thanks for coming. I'm not sure why I did. Because you love your grandson and you know something's wrong. He gestured to the bench. Please, I'm not going to hurt you or trick you or whatever you're thinking. I sat, kept my distance. You were sleeping with my son's wife. Yeah. He didn't try to excuse it. I was. I am. Or I was until about 48 hours ago when I realized what she actually is. And what's that? A black hole. She just takes and takes until there's nothing left. He pulled out his phone. I need you to understand something. When I met Vanessa, she told me her marriage was over, that Ethan was controlling and cold, that she was trapped. I thought I was helping her escape. You thought you were a hero, something like that. He scrolled through his phone. Then Ethan died, and everything changed. Suddenly, she was the grieving widow. Suddenly, she needed me to be invisible. No contact during the day, no public places. Keep it quiet until the estate settled. Until she got the money. That's what I thought it was about. Money. And it is partly, but it's more than that. He turned the phone toward me. Listen to this. He pressed play. Vanessa's voice, tinny through the speaker but unmistakable. I don't care what the judge said. I'm not giving that woman access to my son. She wants to poison him against me, turn him into another Ethan, weak and manipulated. Cole's voice responded. The court order means nothing if we're not here to enforce it. Cole, I've been thinking, the development in Costa Rica. You said it's ready to break ground. Yeah, but that's business. What does that have to... Take me with you, both of us. Me and Noah. We can start over, fresh, no courts, no lawyers, no bitter old woman trying to steal my life. Vanessa, you can't just leave the country with the kid. That's kidnapping. It's not kidnapping if I'm his mother. We'll homeschool. You said the project needs someone to handle the marketing. I can do that. And Noah will adjust. Kids are resilient. What about the custody case? What case? I'll be gone. Let Margaret win an empty judgment. A pause. Unless you don't want us there. Unless I'm just convenient when you need someone to warm your bed, but not good enough to actually build a life with. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair, Cole. I lost my husband. I'm being attacked by his psychotic mother. And you're sitting here worried about legality? Her voice turned soft. Manipulative. I thought you loved me. I thought we were building something real. The recording ended. I sat there, cold despite the sun. When was this? 3 days ago, right after the supervised visit. He put the phone away. There's more, hours of it. Her talking about how to liquidate assets without the court knowing, how to get fake documents for Noah, exit strategies. He looked at me. She's serious, Mrs. Holloway. She's planning to disappear. Why are you telling me this? Because I watched her with that kid, and she doesn't love him. She loves what he represents, control, victory over you. But the actual child, she barely looks at him. He rubbed his face. My sister has a son about Noah's age. I see how she is with him. The attention, the care. Vanessa's not like that. She's playing a role. So you're having a crisis of conscience. I'm realizing I was a pawn in someone else's game, and I don't like it. He stood up. I'll testify. In court. I'll hand over the recordings, whatever you need. But you need to move fast. She's getting passport photos taken for Noah tomorrow. She told me last night. Passport photos for what? What do you think? He looked at me hard. She's planning to run. Within the next 2 weeks. Maybe sooner. And once she's gone, you'll never get him back. He walked away, just left me sitting there with information that felt like a bomb in my lap. I called Daniel from my car. You met him. Not a question. His voice was flat. Yes, after I explicitly told you not to. He has recordings, proof she's planning to take Noah out of the country. Silence. Then, forward them to me, now. And Margaret, you just became a witness in your own case, which means Benson is going to tear you apart on the stand. Hope it was worth it. It had to be worth it, because the alternative was losing Noah forever. The emergency custody hearing was scheduled for 4 days later. Fastest Daniel could get us in front of a judge. 4 days for Vanessa to disappear. 4 days to either save my grandson or lose him completely. I spent those days gathering everything I had. Printed emails, call logs. The recording Cole had given me. Dr. Carson's statement about Noah's breakdown at school. Photos of Vanessa laughing with her lawyer the day after the funeral. Susan came to my house to prep me for testimony. They're going to make you look obsessed, she warned. Bitter, vindictive. Benson will paint you as a grieving mother who can't accept her son's choices, including his choice of wife. Ethan didn't choose her by the end. He was trying to escape. We can't prove that. We have a letter which they'll argue you fabricated. We have some property transfers which they'll argue were coerced. And we have your word against hers. She looked at me seriously. You need to stay calm up there. Don't get defensive. Don't attack Vanessa personally. Just focus on Noah, his needs, his safety. Can you do that? I think so. You need to know so, because if you lose it on the stand, we lose everything. The night before the hearing, Noah sent me an email. Grandma, something weird is happening. Mom made me get pictures taken today. She said it's for school, but I already have school pictures. And she keeps asking me about my passport, if I know where it is. I told her I don't have one. She got really mad, said Dad was supposed to handle it, but never did. Then she made a phone call and I heard her say something about expedited processing. What does that mean? I called Susan immediately. She's moving faster than we thought. Can we get an emergency order? Something to stop her from getting travel documents? I can try, but unless we can prove imminent flight risk, the judge won't block a mother from getting her son a passport. The recordings aren't evidence yet, not until they're entered at the hearing. She paused. Keep Noah close if you can, if she lets you, but she wouldn't. I tried calling, blocked, tried emailing. No response. Drove by the house and found it dark, cars gone. They could be anywhere. Getting on a plane, crossing a border, vanishing into a life where I didn't exist. I spent that night pacing my house, checking my phone every 30 seconds, praying for a message from Noah that didn't come. At 6 a.m., my doorbell rang. I ran to answer it, expecting police or a process server or bad news. It was Noah, standing on my porch in his pajamas, backpack on his shoulders, face streaked with tears. Grandma? I ran away. I pulled him inside, locked the door, looked outside for Vanessa's car. Nothing. Noah, what happened? How did you get here? I walked. It took a long time. My feet hurt. He was shaking. Mom came into my room last night, really late. She was packing my stuff. I asked where we were going and she said vacation. But she was crying and throwing things in bags and she kept saying, we have to leave, we have to leave. She scared me. I knelt down in front of him. Did she see you leave? No, she took sleeping pills. She always does when she's stressed. I waited until I heard her snoring, then I climbed out my window. I remembered the way to your house from when Dad used to bring me. My heart was breaking and soaring at the same time. You walked 4 miles in the dark by yourself? I was scared, but I was more scared to stay. He threw his arms around my neck. Please don't make me go back, please. I want to stay with you. I don't care about the house or money or any of that. I just want to feel safe again. I held him while he sobbed. This 9-year-old child who'd lost his father, been used as a weapon by his mother, and was brave enough to save himself. You're safe now, I whispered. I promise. You're safe. But even as I said it, I knew the fight was just beginning. I called Susan, then Daniel. Then, because I had no choice, I called the police to report that Noah was with me so Vanessa couldn't claim kidnapping. 2 officers showed up within 20 minutes, young guys who looked uncomfortable dealing with family drama. Ma'am, we need to take the child back to his legal guardian. His mother is planning to flee the country with him. I have evidence. There's an emergency hearing today. That's for the courts to decide. Right now, you're in violation of custody. She doesn't have custody, she has physical placement. It's different. Ma'am, Noah stepped forward. I don't want to go back. She scares me. She was packing to run away. I heard her on the phone talking about airports and fake names and, son, we can't take testimony from a minor in a domestic situation. You need to come with us. I felt everything collapsing. Can you at least keep him safe until the hearing? It's at 2 p.m. Just take him somewhere she can't get to him. Please. The officers looked at each other. One of them made a call, came back looking grim. We can take him to Child Protective Services pending the hearing. They'll hold him in a neutral location. But ma'am, if you try to interfere with that, you'll be arrested. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Noah looked at me with terrified eyes. Grandma? It's okay, baby. You'll be safe. And in a few hours, we'll be in front of a judge and we'll fix this. I promise. They took him. He looked back at me from the police car, hand pressed against the window. I waved until they turned the corner. Then I went inside and threw up. The courthouse was packed. Apparently emergency custody hearings drew crowds. Or maybe Vanessa had invited people. A performance needs an audience. She showed up 10 minutes before the hearing, flanked by lawyers. She looked devastated. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, but her eyes were red like she'd been crying. All in act, she'd probably used eye drops. She saw me and her expression shifted, pure hatred for just a second before the mask snapped back. You kidnapped my son. He ran away. There's a difference. You coached him, poisoned him, turned him against me just like you turned Ethan against me. Ethan wasn't turned against you. He woke up to who you really are. Her lawyer grabbed her arm. Mrs. Holloway, don't engage. But Vanessa shook him off, stepped closer to me. close enough that I could smell her perfume, the expensive kind. "You're going to lose," she hissed. "I'm his mother. Blood, biology. Courts don't take children from their mothers. Not for grandmothers who can't let go. They do when the mother's a flight risk." "Prove it." "I will." "With what? Some recordings from my ex-boyfriend who I'm about to claim was stalking me? That's your evidence?" She smiled. "Margaret, you're so far out of your depth. You think you're protecting Noah. You're destroying him, making him choose between the only parent he has left and a grandmother who's bitter she wasn't more important than his mother." I wanted to hit her. The urge was so strong my hands actually clenched. But Susan's voice echoed in my head. "Don't lose it on the stand. We lose everything. We'll let the judge decide," I said. "Yes, we will." She turned away. "See you in there." The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, a judge who looked like she'd heard 1,000 variations of this same story and was tired of all of them. Judge Patricia Winters, 50-something, gray hair, no-nonsense expression. "This is an emergency hearing for custody modification in the matter of Noah Holloway, minor child. I've read the briefs, I've reviewed the evidence submitted, and I have a lot of questions." She looked at both sides. "Let's start with why this child is currently in state custody." Vanessa's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, the child was removed from his home in the middle of the night by his grandmother, Margaret Holloway. She's been systematically violating court orders, harassing my client, and attempting to alienate the child from his mother." "Mrs. Margaret Holloway, is that true?" Susan stood. "No, Your Honor. The child left of his own volition. He walked 4 miles to his grandmother's house because he was frightened. His mother was packing bags in the middle of the night, telling him they needed to leave immediately. The grandmother contacted police to ensure proper protocols were followed." "Why was the mother packing?" Benson jumped in. "My client was preparing for a previously planned trip. The child misunderstood the situation due to his grandmother's influence." "A trip where?" the judge asked. Vanessa leaned forward to whisper to her lawyer. He straightened. "A grief retreat in California to help with the processing of her husband's recent death." "And the child was going with her?" "Of course. He's her son." "How long was this trip planned?" Pause. "A few weeks. And yet there's no mention of it in any previous court filings. No request for permission to travel out of state with the minor child during active custody proceedings." "It was a therapeutic trip, Your Honor, not a vacation. My client didn't realize she needed court permission." "Your client has a lawyer, a very expensive one. I find it hard to believe you didn't advise her about interstate travel restrictions." Judge Winters turned to Susan. "You mentioned evidence of flight risk?" "Yes, Your Honor. We have recordings of Mrs. Vanessa Holloway discussing plans to leave the country with the child, to avoid these proceedings and deny the grandmother access." "Objection!" Benson was on his feet. "Those recordings were obtained illegally through a third party. They're inadmissible." "Were they obtained through wiretapping or other illegal surveillance?" the judge asked. Susan shook her head. "They were made by a participant in the conversation who's willing to testify to their authenticity. That makes them legally obtained under single-party consent laws in this state." "Who's the participant?" "Cole Mercer, Mrs. Vanessa Holloway's romantic partner." The courtroom went silent. Vanessa's face drained of color. Benson recovered fast. "Your Honor, this is a clear attempt to smear my client's reputation. Her personal relationships have no bearing on her fitness as a mother. They do if those relationships involve planning to kidnap a child across international borders." Judge Winters looked at Susan. "I want to hear these recordings." "Your Honor, we object strenuously." "Noted. Play them." Susan set up a small speaker. Cole's phone recordings filled the courtroom. Vanessa's voice, bright and calculating, talking about Costa Rica, about homeschooling, about letting Margaret win an empty judgment. I watched Vanessa's face. She was good, barely reacted, but her hands gripped the table edge so hard her knuckles went white. When the recording ended, Judge Winters sat back. "Mrs. Vanessa Holloway, stand up, please." Vanessa stood, composed, dignified. "Did you make those statements?" "I was venting, Your Honor. I was angry and overwhelmed. I never intended to actually leave the country." "You obtained passport photos for your son?" "For future use, in case we wanted to travel someday." You discussed fake documents. I was being hyperbolic, dramatic. I'd had wine. I wasn't serious. And the packing last night. I was organizing closets. The child misunderstood. At 2 in the morning? I have insomnia. Grief does that. Judge Winters looked at her for a long moment. Mrs. Holloway, I'm going to be very direct with you. I don't believe a word you just said. Vanessa's mask cracked. Your Honor, I've been doing this for 23 years. I've seen parents lie, manipulate, and use children as weapons. And you are checking every single box. She picked up a file. The school contacted child services after your son had an emotional breakdown. When they called you, you said you were too busy to pick him up early. Is that correct? I had a meeting. Your husband had been dead less than a month. Your son was having a mental health crisis. And you had a meeting that couldn't be rescheduled? I thought he'd be fine. Kids act out. It means you prioritized a meeting over your child's well-being. She looked at another document. You've also violated 2 court-ordered visitation periods with the grandmother. Your excuse both times was that you forgot. Do you forget your hair appointments, your lawyer meetings? This is different. You're right, it is. Because this involves a child who just lost his father and desperately needs stability. Instead, he's being used as a pawn in whatever game you're playing. She closed the file. Here's what's going to happen. I'm granting emergency temporary custody to Margaret Holloway pending a full evaluation. No, Vanessa was on her feet. You can't take my son. I can and I am. You will have supervised visitation 2 hours per week at a location to be determined. You will not remove the child from the state. You will surrender both your passport and Noah's, if one exists, to the court immediately. And you will undergo a psychological evaluation before we even discuss returning to shared custody. This is insane. What's insane is a mother who talks about fleeing the country with her child, then expects me to believe she was joking. Judge Winters looked at Benson. Your client needs to think very carefully about her next moves. Because if she violates any part of this order, I will terminate her parental rights. Am I clear? Benson nodded stiffly. Yes, Your Honor. Good. We'll reconvene in 60 days for a full hearing. In the meantime, Noah stays with his grandmother. Child Services will do a home evaluation. And Mrs. Vanessa Holloway will demonstrate that she's capable of putting her son's needs above her own wants. She banged her gavel. Court adjourned. I couldn't breathe, couldn't process. Susan was grabbing my arm, saying something about paperwork and pickup procedures, but all I could hear was the roaring in my ears. I'd won. For now. Noah was coming home with me. But when I looked across the courtroom at Vanessa, I saw something that made my blood run cold. She wasn't crying, wasn't arguing with her lawyers, she was smiling. Not the fake smile she showed the world. A real one. Small. Secret. Like she'd just figured out a new game to play. And I realized this wasn't over, not even close. That smile haunted me all the way to Child Services. Susan kept talking about next steps and home evaluations and legal procedures, but all I could see was Vanessa's face, that knowing look, like losing custody was just a minor setback in a longer game I didn't understand yet. Margaret, are you listening? I blinked. What? The social worker. She's going to want to interview you and Noah separately. She'll inspect your home, talk to neighbors, teachers, anyone who knows both of you. Susan pulled into the parking lot. You need to be perfect, no slip-ups, no emotional outbursts. Just a calm, stable grandmother providing a safe environment. I can do that. Can you? Because in there's a traumatized 9-year-old who just got taken from his mother by court order. He might be relieved. He might be angry. He might fall apart. And you have to hold it together no matter what he does. She was right. I wanted to fix everything immediately, make Noah feel safe and loved and whole again. But trauma doesn't work that way. You can't just remove a kid from chaos and expect instant healing. The social worker met us in the lobby. Her name was Patricia Chen, and she had that seen-everything exhaustion that came from too many years in child welfare. She shook my hand without smiling. Mrs. Holloway, I'm going to bring Noah out. You'll have 10 minutes together here, supervised, while I observe. Then we'll go through intake procedures. Can I just take him home? Not yet. I need to complete my assessment first. She looked at me hard. I understand you're eager. But my job is to determine what's best for Noah. That might be you. It might not be. So let me do my job. She disappeared through a security door, came back 3 minutes later with Noah. He looked smaller than when the police had taken him that morning. Scared. His eyes found me and something in him cracked. Grandma! He ran to me. I caught him and held on tight while he shook. It's okay, baby. I'm here. You're safe. They said I might have to go to a foster home. They said you might not be allowed. That's not happening. The judge said you're staying with me. But the lady said she has to follow procedures, but you're coming home. I promise. Patricia made notes on a clipboard, watched us like we were specimens in a lab. Noah, honey, can you sit down for a minute? She gestured to a chair. I need to ask you some questions. He looked at me. I nodded. He sat, but kept holding my hand. Noah, tell me why you left your mother's house last night. She was acting weird, packing stuff, crying and talking on the phone about leaving. Leaving where? I don't know, but she kept saying they can't stop us and we'll be free. It scared me. Did she hurt you? No, she just ignores me mostly. Unless people are watching, then she acts like she cares. Patricia wrote that down. What about your grandmother? Does she hurt you? What? No. Grandma's the only one who actually listens to me. Mom just talks at me, tells me what to feel and what to say. What do you mean? Like before the visits with Grandma. Mom makes me practice answers. She says stuff like, if Grandma asks about me, say I'm a good mother, or tell her you want to stay with me. But I don't want to stay with her. I want to live with Grandma. More notes. When did your mom start coaching you? After Dad died. After the lawyer read the will and Mom got really angry. He looked at me. She said Grandma stole everything, that Dad was sick and didn't know what he was doing, but Dad wasn't sick. He was fine until the aneurysm. How do you know he wasn't sick? Because he told me. The week before he died, we went to get ice cream, just us. And he said he was making sure I'd always be taken care of, that Grandma would protect me if anything happened. Noah's voice got quiet. He knew. Somehow he knew something bad was coming. Patricia looked at me. I couldn't read her expression. Mrs. Holloway, step outside, please. I need to speak with Noah privately. But it's standard procedure, 10 minutes. I kissed Noah's forehead and went into the hallway. Paced for 9 minutes. When Patricia opened the door, her face was unreadable. You can take him home. I'll be visiting tomorrow at 10 a.m. to inspect the residence. Make sure it's clean, safe, age-appropriate. I'll also be interviewing neighbors and reviewing school records. That's it? For now. But Mrs. Holloway, understand this is temporary. The court ordered 60 days of evaluation. During that time, I'll be watching everything. One mistake, one sign you're not capable, and Noah goes back to his mother or into foster care. Clear? Crystal. Good. There's paperwork to sign. An hour later, Noah was in my car, his backpack between his feet. Everything he owned in the world fitting into one bag because Vanessa hadn't let him take anything else. Are we really going to your house? He asked quietly. We're going home. For how long? As long as it takes. He was quiet for a minute. Then, what if Mom comes? She can't. The judge said supervised visits only. She doesn't care about what judges say. She told her lawyer that once. I heard her. She said courts are just suggestions for people without money or connections. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Well, this judge doesn't seem like the suggesting type. We drove in silence. I kept glancing at him. This boy who'd been through so much, lost his father, been used by his mother, forced to choose between survival and loyalty. When we pulled into my driveway, he just sat there. Noah? I haven't been here in so long. Mom always said you were too busy, or you were sick, or you didn't really want to see me. All lies. I know that now. He looked at the house. Does it still smell like cinnamon? You always used to make those rolls on Saturday mornings. Still do. We'll make some tomorrow if you want. Really? Really? He smiled. First real smile I'd seen from him in months. We got out. I unlocked the door and he walked in like he was entering a museum, touching things carefully. The couch, the bookshelf, the photos on the wall. He stopped at one from 5 years ago. Him and Ethan at the beach, both of them sandy and sunburned and laughing. I miss him so much, Noah whispered. Me too, baby. Do you think he'd be proud of me for running away? I think he'd be proud you were brave enough to save yourself. He nodded, wiped his eyes. Can I go to my room? Your room? Dad's old room. You always said it was mine whenever I wanted it. It still is. I haven't changed anything. He went upstairs. I heard the door open. Close. Then nothing. I wanted to follow him, make sure he was okay. But Susan's words echoed. Give him space. Let him process. So I went to the kitchen and started cooking. Comfort food. Mac and cheese from scratch. The way Ethan loved it. Green beans, homemade biscuits. An hour later, Noah came down. Eyes red but face calmer. Smells good? Hungry? Starving. Mom never really cooked. Just ordered stuff. Usually stuff she wanted, not what I wanted. We ate at the kitchen table. He put away 2 helpings and 3 biscuits, talked about school and his friends and a book he was reading. Normal kid stuff. Like maybe for a few minutes, he could pretend everything was okay. After dinner, he helped me clean up. We were loading the dishwasher when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Heavy breathing. Then a woman's voice. Not Vanessa. Someone else. Is this Margaret Holloway? Who's asking? My name is Rachel Torres. I'm a reporter with the Tribune. I'm doing a story on the custody case involving Vanessa Holloway and her late husband's estate. I was hoping to get your side of things. My stomach dropped. How did you get this number? Public records. Mrs. Holloway, there are some serious allegations being made about you. That you manipulated your son while he was dying. That you're using your grandson to steal his inheritance. I think you deserve a chance to respond. I have no comment. Vanessa says you've been harassing her for months, that you can't accept she was your son's choice, that you're bitter and vindictive and... I hung up, stood there, shaking. Grandma, who was that? Nobody important, but it was important. Vanessa was going public, spinning her narrative, turning this into a media circus. My phone rang again. Different number. I didn't answer. It rang 4 more times in the next hour. Different numbers, same thing. Reporters. All of them with the same questions, all of them having clearly talked to Vanessa first. At 8 p.m., Susan called. Have you seen the news? What news? Channel 7, they're running a story. Mother's dying wish stolen by bitter mother-in-law. It's bad, Margaret, really bad. I turned on the TV. There was Vanessa, in a black dress, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. My husband, Ethan, was everything to me, she said to the camera. We built a beautiful life together, and in his final weeks, when he was struggling with health issues he didn't want to worry me about, his mother manipulated him, convinced him I wasn't trustworthy, turned him against me. A delicate sob. Now she's taken my son, used the courts to steal him, and I just want people to know the truth, that I'm a mother fighting for her child, not some villain. The reporter asked about the recordings. Those were taken out of context by someone I trusted, someone who betrayed me when I was at my lowest. I said things I didn't mean. Anyone would understand that if they'd lost their spouse. What about the allegations you were planning to leave the country? I was researching grief retreats. Some happened to be international, that's all. But Margaret twisted everything to make me look like a criminal. She looked directly at the camera. I just want my son back. That's all any mother wants. The segment ended. Cut to the anchors looking sympathetic. I turned it off. She's good, Susan said over the phone. She's turning you into the villain. What do I do? Nothing. Don't engage, don't respond. Let her have the media. We have the court, and that's what matters. But people will believe her. Some will, some won't, but judges care about facts, not public opinion. Tell that to Noah when kids at school start asking why his grandma is evil. Susan sighed. I know this is hard, but responding will only make it worse. Trust me. I wanted to trust her, but watching Vanessa on TV, performing grief and innocence, made me want to scream the truth from every rooftop. Noah came downstairs in his pajamas. Is that about us? How much did you hear? Enough. He sat next to me. She's lying. People know that, right? Some people, not everyone. What if everyone believes her? What if I have to go back? That won't happen. How do you know? Because I didn't know. I was 65 years old fighting a woman with unlimited resources and no conscience. A woman who'd weaponized the media and was probably already planning her next move. But I couldn't tell Noah that. Because the truth always comes out, I said. Maybe not right away, but eventually. He didn't look convinced. Neither was I. That night I lay awake listening to Noah toss and turn in the next room. Every creak of the house made me tense. Every car passing by made me worry it was Vanessa coming to take him back. At 2 a.m., I heard him crying. Soft, muffled sobs into his pillow. I went to his room, sat on the edge of his bed. Can't sleep? I keep thinking about Dad, about how he knew something bad would happen. What if he knew he was going to die? What if he was trying to tell me and I didn't understand? Baby, he didn't know. Nobody could have known. But he changed his will. He moved the money. He wrote you that letter. Noah sat up. What if someone hurt him? What? Mom was always fighting with him, always angry. What if she did something? Noah, your dad had an aneurysm. That's not something someone causes. But what if she stressed him so much it happened? What if... Stop. I pulled him close. Your mom is a lot of things, but she didn't kill your dad. His brain just failed. Sometimes that happens. It's terrible and unfair and random, but it's not murder. Are you sure? I wasn't. Not completely, but I couldn't let a 9-year-old carry that weight. I'm sure. Your dad loved you so much, and everything he did was to protect you. That's all that matters now. He cried into my shoulder until he fell asleep. I stayed there holding him, wondering how many more nights like this we'd have, how long before Vanessa found a way to tear us apart again. The home inspection happened the next morning. Patricia Chen showed up with a clipboard and zero warmth. She went through every room, checked smoke detectors, looked in the refrigerator, asked about Noah's sleeping arrangements, school enrollment, medical care. Has he seen a therapist? I have an appointment set up for next week. Good. He's going to need it. She made a note. What about you? Are you in therapy? Me? You've been through significant trauma, lost your son, fighting for custody. That takes a toll. I need to know you're managing your own mental health. I'm fine. Are you? Because I've seen grandparents who think they're fine, who think love is enough. Then they realize raising a traumatized child is harder than they thought, and they fall apart. I'm not going to fall apart. Everyone falls apart eventually, Mrs. Holloway. The question is whether you have support when you do. She looked around. Do you have family, friends, a community? I have enough. Enough isn't the same as stable. She closed her notebook. I'm going to recommend supervised continuation of temporary custody, but I'm also going to recommend therapy for both of you and regular check-ins. If I see any sign you're overwhelmed or Noah's regressing, we'll revisit placement. He's not going to foster care. He'll go wherever is best for him. That might be you. It might be his mother if she gets her act together, or it might be somewhere else entirely. She headed for the door. Don't make this about winning, Mrs. Holloway. Make it about Noah. After she left, I found Noah in the kitchen. Is she going to take me away? No. You can't promise that. He was right. I couldn't. The first supervised visitation with Vanessa was scheduled for the following Saturday. 2 hours at a family services building with a monitor watching every interaction. Vanessa showed up in jeans and a sweater. No makeup, hair pulled back. The opposite of her courtroom performance. She looked tired. Human. Almost fooled me. Noah, baby! She reached for him. He stepped back. Noah, it's Mom. Come here. I don't want to. Her face flickered. Don't be like that. I know Grandma's been saying things about me, but Grandma didn't say anything. You did. I heard you on the phone. I saw you packing. I'm not stupid. The monitor, a woman named Lisa, intervened. Noah, why don't you sit down? Your mom came to visit. You don't have to hug her, but you should at least talk. He sat. Vanessa sat across from him. I stayed in the corner, out of the way but close enough to intervene if needed. How's school? Vanessa asked. Fine. Are you eating okay? Sleeping? Yeah. I miss you. Noah didn't respond. Noah, please. I know you're angry, but I'm still your mom. I love you. You were going to leave. Take me away from Grandma and everything I know. I was scared. People say things when they're scared. You said I was a complication. I heard you tell Cole that I was in the way of your plans. Vanessa went pale. You misunderstood. No, I didn't. You don't want me. You want Dad's money and the house and to look good. But you don't actually want me. That's not true. Then why do you only act like you care when people are watching? Noah's voice cracked. Why did you forget to pick me up when I was crying at school? Why did you make me practice answers before seeing Grandma? Why did you lie about her stealing money when Dad gave it to her to protect me? Vanessa looked at Lisa. He's been coached. This is exactly what I was talking about. She's turning him against me. I can turn myself against you, Noah shot back. I don't need help. Noah, I don't want to be here. I don't want to visit you. I just want you to leave us alone. He stood up and walked to me, buried his face in my side. Vanessa just sat there. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. She looked genuinely hurt. Like maybe somewhere under all the manipulation and performance, there was a real person who'd lost something she actually valued. But then her expression hardened. You've poisoned him, she said to me. Turned my own son into your weapon. I hope you're proud. I didn't do anything except give him a safe place to land. Safe? You've made him an orphan, ripped him from his mother, all because you couldn't stand that Ethan chose me over you. Ethan didn't choose you. He chose to protect Noah from you. That's a lie. It's in his letter, in his will, in the trust documents. He knew exactly what you were, and he made sure you couldn't hurt his son. Vanessa stood up. I want to see my lawyer. This visit is over. She stormed out without looking at Noah. He didn't cry, just stood there shaking. Lisa came over. You okay, kiddo? Is she right? Did Grandma make me hate her? What do you think? Lisa asked gently. I think I already knew about what she was. I just didn't want to believe it. He looked up at me. Dad tried to tell me. A few weeks before he died. He said Mom was going through some changes and I shouldn't take it personally, that some people stop being who you thought they were. He said that? Yeah, I didn't understand then, but I do now. Tears finally came. I wish he was here. He'd know what to do. He did know, I said. That's why he made sure you'd be with me. We went home. The rest of the day was quiet. Noah did homework, I made dinner, we watched a movie. Normal things. Almost peaceful. But at 9 p.m., Daniel called. We have a problem. What now? Vanessa's filing for full custody, not shared. Full. And she's arguing you're too old, too unstable, and Noah's suffering from Stockholm Syndrome after being isolated with you. That's insane. Insane, but strategic. She's pushing for a final hearing in 30 days instead of 60, trying to accelerate the timeline before her own evaluation comes back. Can she do that? She can try. Judge Winters will have to decide whether to grant the motion. He paused. Margaret, she's also subpoenaed your medical records, all of them, looking for anything that might suggest you're not capable. Depression, anxiety, cognitive issues, anything. I don't have any of that. Doesn't matter. She'll twist whatever she finds. A prescription for sleeping pills becomes dependent on medication. A note about grief counseling becomes unstable mental state. He sighed. This is going to get uglier before it gets better. After I hung up, I sat in the dark kitchen and let myself have 5 minutes of despair. 5 minutes to feel overwhelmed and outmatched and terrified. Then I got up and started fighting back. Because Vanessa had made a critical mistake. She'd assumed I'd break under pressure. But I'd already survived losing my husband, raising a son alone, and watching that son die too young. I'd been broken before, and I'd learned how to build myself back harder. The next 3 weeks were war disguised as routine. I got Noah to school every morning, made him breakfast, helped with homework, tucked him in at night. Normal grandmother things. But underneath, I was documenting everything. Every meal, every conversation, every moment of stability I could provide. Because Vanessa's team was doing the same thing in reverse, looking for any crack in my armor. Her lawyer subpoenaed everyone. Noah's teachers, my neighbors, the cashier at the grocery store I'd been shopping at for 20 years. They were building a case that I was too old, too isolated, too fragile to raise a child. What they didn't count on was that I'd lived in this neighborhood for 40 years. These people knew me. And more importantly, they'd watched Vanessa blow into town like a hurricane, treating everyone like staff. Mrs. Chen from next door gave a statement. Margaret's the kindest woman I know. Always brought me soup when I was sick. Shoveled my walk last winter even though she's got arthritis. That daughter-in-law of hers? Never said more than 2 words to me in 10 years, too busy checking her phone to notice actual people. My doctor wrote a letter. Mrs. Holloway is in excellent health for her age. Sharp mind, no cognitive decline. More than capable of providing care for a minor child. Even Dr. Carson from Noah's school filed an unsolicited report. Noah has shown remarkable improvement since moving in with his grandmother. He's engaged in class again, making friends. His emotional outbursts have stopped completely. Whatever environment she's providing is clearly working. Susan compiled it all into a binder 3 inches thick. Evidence of stability, of love, of a child finally thriving. But Vanessa had her own ammunition. 2 weeks before the final hearing, she released another media statement, this time with photos. Photos of me sitting in my car outside her house that night months ago. Photos of the email I'd sent Noah. Photos of court documents with highlighted sections making me look obsessed and controlling. This woman has stalked me, Vanessa told reporters, voice trembling. She's harassed me, violated court orders, and turned my son against me through systematic isolation. And now she's trying to paint herself as a hero when really, she's just a bitter old woman who can't let go. The comments section online was brutal. Half the people called me a monster. The other half called Vanessa worse. Everyone had an opinion about a situation they knew nothing about. Noah saw some of it. Kids at school showed him on their phones. He came home quiet one day, wouldn't talk during dinner. Finally, at bedtime, he asked, "Grandma, are you going to die soon?" "What?" "No, why would you ask that?" Kids at school said you're too old to take care of me, that you'll probably die and then I'll be alone. His eyes filled with tears. Is that true? I sat on his bed. Noah, I'm 65, not 90. I'm healthy and strong, and I plan to be around for a very long time. But what if something happens? What if you have an aneurysm like Dad? Then there are plans in place, legal things. You'd never be alone. Would I have to go back to Mom? Not if you don't want to. The trust your dad set up has provisions for that. What kind of provisions? I'd never explained this part to him. Seemed too heavy for a 9-year-old. But he was asking, and he deserved the truth. Your dad named backup guardians, people he trusted. If something happens to me, you'd go to them. Who? Daniel, your dad's lawyer, he and his wife. They don't have kids, but your dad trusted them completely. Noah processed this. So Mom doesn't automatically get me? No, your dad made sure of that. Good. He laid back. I had a nightmare last night. That the judge made me go back and Mom took me to another country and I never saw you again. And I was screaming, but nobody could hear me. I held his hand. That's not going to happen. How do you know? Because I won't let it. But what if... Noah, listen to me. Your dad fought for you even after he was gone. He set up protections. He made sure you'd be safe, and I'm going to honor that, no matter what it takes. He nodded. But I could see the fear in his eyes. This child had lost his father, been manipulated by his mother, and now lived in constant terror that the one stable thing left would be ripped away. That night, I pulled out Ethan's letter again. Read it for the 100th time. Fight for my son. I was fighting. But sometimes it felt like throwing punches in the dark, hoping to hit something that mattered. The turning point came from an unexpected source. Cole Mercer called me 3 days before the hearing. Mrs. Holloway, I need to talk to you, in person. It's important. We've said everything we need to say. No, we haven't. Please. There's something you need to know before you go into that courtroom. We met at the same park. He looked worse than last time. Unshaven, tired. Like he'd been living in his car. What happened to you? Vanessa happened. He sat down hard. After I testified, after I gave you those recordings, she came after me, got me fired from my company, spread rumors I was unstable, threatened to claim I'd assaulted her if I didn't recant everything. Did you recant? No, but I lost everything anyway. My job, my reputation. Friends stopped returning calls. Clients dropped me. He laughed bitterly. Turns out being on the wrong side of Vanessa Holloway is career suicide. Why are you telling me this? Because she's planning something big. And I think you should know. He pulled out his phone, showed me a screenshot of a text conversation. Vanessa to unknown number. Everything's in place, day of the hearing, make sure the timing is perfect. Needs to look natural. Unknown number. Understood. Payment cleared? Vanessa. Half now, half after. What is this? I don't know. But she sent it 2 days ago. And she's been making calls to numbers I don't recognize, burner phones maybe. She's planning something and she's paying someone to do it. Do you think she'd hurt Noah? No, she wouldn't risk that. But you? Yeah, I think she'd hurt you if she thought it would win her case. My blood went cold. What are you saying? I'm saying watch your back. Don't be alone anywhere. Don't accept food or drinks from anyone you don't know. And maybe tell your lawyer about this. He forwarded me the screenshot, then stood up. Why are you helping me? Because I watched her destroy a good man. Your son was decent, kind, and she ate him alive. I don't want to see her win. He started walking away, then turned back. She's not who she pretends to be, Mrs. Holloway. Not even close. And whatever she's planning, it's going to be bad. I showed Daniel and Susan the texts that afternoon. This could be anything, Susan said. Could be a photographer, a PR person, someone to coach her for testimony. Or it could be something worse, Daniel countered. Margaret, I want you to have security. Someone with you at all times until after the hearing. I can't afford that. The trust can. Consider it protecting Ethan's asset, you. Because if something happens to you, Noah goes back to Vanessa by default until backup guardians can be established. So for 3 days, I had a bodyguard. A quiet man named Marcus who sat in his car outside my house and followed me everywhere. Noah thought it was weird, but kind of cool. Vanessa's people noticed. Started taking photos of Marcus. Spun it as me being paranoid and unstable, needing protection from imaginary threats. The narrative was shifting again, and I couldn't stop it. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. Just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through worst-case scenarios. What if the judge believed Vanessa? What if Noah had to go back? What if I'd fought this hard just to lose anyway? At 2 a.m., I got up and went to Noah's room, stood in the doorway watching him sleep. This boy who'd been through so much, who deserved peace and stability and a childhood that wasn't a battlefield. I won't let her take you, I whispered. I promise. The courtroom was packed. Apparently high-profile custody cases drew spectators like moths to fire. I recognized some reporters. Some I didn't recognize at all. Vanessa sat at her table in a navy suit, hair perfect, expression serene. The picture of wronged motherhood. I sat at mine in a dress from JCPenney, hands shaking, trying to remember everything Susan had coached me on. Judge Winters entered. Everyone stood. This is the final hearing in the matter of custody for Noah Holloway. I've reviewed all submitted evidence, statements, and evaluations. I'm going to hear testimony from both parties, then make my ruling. She looked at both tables. Let's keep this professional. I've already seen enough drama in this case to last a lifetime. Vanessa's lawyer went first, painted a picture of a devoted mother torn from her child by a manipulative older woman who couldn't accept her son's choices. Margaret Holloway has shown a pattern of boundary violations, Benson argued. Stalking, harassment, creating secret communication channels with a minor. She's obsessed with controlling this family, and she's using Noah as a weapon against his own mother. Then he called his first witness, Dr. Raymond Shaw, a psychiatrist who'd evaluated Vanessa. In your professional opinion, is Mrs. Vanessa Holloway fit to parent her son? Absolutely. She shows no signs of instability or neglect. In fact, she demonstrates strong attachment and appropriate concern for Noah's well-being. What about the recordings where she discussed leaving the country? Venting. Understandable given the stress she was under. People say things they don't mean when they're overwhelmed. It doesn't indicate actual intent. Susan cross-examined. Dr. Shaw, how many hours did you spend evaluating Mrs. Holloway? 3 sessions, approximately 4 hours total. And in those 4 hours, did she mention that she'd been having an affair during her marriage? We discussed her relationship with Mr. Mercer. She was very forthcoming. Did she mention coaching her son on what to say during supervised visits? She denied that allegation. Did you interview the child? No, my evaluation was of the mother only. So you have no first-hand knowledge of how she actually interacts with Noah? Not directly. No. Then how can you assess her fitness as a mother without observing her with her child? Dr. Shaw shifted. I based my assessment on her self-reporting and psychological testing. Self-reporting from a woman who has every reason to present herself positively. Susan smiled tightly. No further questions. Benson called 2 more witnesses. A neighbor who'd never met me but had seen me drive past Vanessa's house. A child psychologist who testified that removing children from their mothers was traumatic, regardless of circumstances. Then it was our turn. Susan called Patricia Chen first. Ms. Chen, you've been supervising this case. In your professional opinion, where should Noah be placed? With his grandmother, without question. Benson jumped up. Objection! The witness is supposed to be neutral. I am neutral, Patricia said. Neutral to what's best for the child. And in 30 years of child welfare work, I've rarely seen a case this clear-cut. Judge Winters leaned forward. Explain. Noah is thriving with Margaret. He's sleeping, eating, engaging at school. His teacher reports he's a different child. Happier, more confident. She pulled out her notes. During supervised visits with his mother, he shows classic signs of stress, shortened responses, avoidance of eye contact, checking the clock repeatedly. His body language screams discomfort. Children can be influenced, Benson argued. Yes, they can. But you can't fake the kind of physical relaxation I've observed with the grandmother. The way he leans into her, seeks her comfort, that's genuine attachment, not coaching. Ms. Chen, are you saying Mrs. Vanessa Holloway is unfit? I'm saying she prioritizes herself over her son. And that's not the same thing as being a mother. Susan then called Dr. Carson, who testified about Noah's improvement. Called Marcus, the bodyguard, who explained about the threatening texts. Called Cole, who repeated everything about Vanessa's plans to flee. Finally, she called me. I walked to the stand on shaking legs, swore to tell the truth, sat down and looked at the judge. Susan started gentle, asked about my relationship with Ethan, with Noah, about the last few months. I answered honestly. Didn't sugarcoat, didn't attack Vanessa, just told the truth. Then Benson stood up for cross-examination. Mrs. Holloway, you were very close to your son, weren't you? Yes. Would you say you were the most important woman in his life? Until he got married, yes. And when he married Vanessa, that changed. Of course, that's natural. But you resented it, didn't you? Resented that he chose someone else. No, I was happy he found someone. Really? Because, according to multiple witnesses, you barely spoke to Vanessa at the wedding. You left early. You made it clear you didn't approve. I left early because I wasn't feeling well, and I spoke to her as much as she'd let me. But you never liked her. I didn't know her well enough to like or dislike her. Yet, the moment your son died, you were already planning to take everything from her. That's not true, isn't it? You were named in the will, given assets, control of Noah's trust. Sounds like you got everything you wanted. I didn't want my son to die. My voice cracked. I wanted him alive. I wanted him happy. And the only reason he changed his will was because he was afraid of what would happen to Noah if he didn't. Afraid because you convinced him to be afraid. No, afraid because he saw what she was. And what was that? Someone who loved money and status more than she loved her own child. The courtroom went silent. Benson smiled. So you admit you think Mrs. Vanessa Holloway is a bad mother? I think she's a good actress. Objection! Benson turned to the judge. Your Honor, this is exactly the kind of, I'll allow it, Judge Winters said. Answer the question, Mrs. Holloway. I looked at Vanessa. She stared back, expression neutral. I think Vanessa is capable of love, but only for herself. I think Noah is a possession to her, something to win, not a child to cherish. I turned back to Benson. And I think deep down, she knows she's lost him, not because I took him, because she drove him away all by herself. That's slander. It's truth. And if you put Noah on that stand, which I pray you won't, he'll tell you the same thing. Judge Winters interrupted. Is the child testifying? Benson hesitated. We reserve the right to call him. I'm asking if you're going to. Another pause. No, Your Honor. We don't want to traumatize him further. Good, because I wasn't going to allow it anyway. She looked at me. Mrs. Holloway, step down. I returned to my seat. Susan squeezed my hand. You did good. Judge Winters shuffled papers. I'm ready to rule. My heart stopped. I've heard a lot of testimony today, seen a lot of evidence, and I'm going to be blunt. This case shouldn't have gotten this far. Vanessa straightened. Mrs. Vanessa Holloway, you have consistently put your own interests above your child's. You violated court orders. You've attempted to alienate Noah from his grandmother. You've demonstrated poor judgment and questionable priorities. She paused. That said, you're not an unfit mother. You're just not a very good one. I saw Vanessa's jaw tighten. Mrs. Margaret Holloway, you've shown stability, love, and genuine concern for Noah's well-being. You've provided a safe environment where he's thriving. However, you've also made some questionable choices. The secret email, the surveillance. Understandable given the circumstances, but still concerning. My stomach dropped. Here's my ruling. Primary custody goes to Margaret Holloway until Noah turns 18 or until circumstances significantly change. I couldn't breathe. Vanessa Holloway will have visitation rights, 1 weekend per month. Supervised for the first 6 months, then we'll reassess. She will also have phone contact twice weekly, scheduled in advance. Vanessa stood up. Your Honor, that's completely... I'm not finished. Judge Winters' voice was ice. You will complete a parenting course. You will continue therapy, and you will stop the media circus immediately. If I see one more news story, one more interview where you trash the grandmother, I'll reduce your visitation to supervised only permanently. Are we clear? Vanessa sat down, didn't answer. Mrs. Holloway, I asked you a question. Yes, Your Honor, we're clear. Good. One more thing. The judge looked at both of us. This isn't about either of you. It's about a 9-year-old boy who lost his father and needs stability. Whatever grievances you have with each other, set them aside. For his sake. Because if you can't, I'll appoint a guardian ad litem, and neither of you will have primary custody. Understood? We both nodded. Court adjourned. The gavel came down. I sat there in shock. Susan was hugging me. Daniel was shaking my hand. People were congratulating me. But all I could think was that it was over. We'd won. When I looked across the courtroom, Vanessa was gone. Just her lawyers packing up, looking annoyed. She hadn't even stayed to hear the full ruling. Noah was waiting outside with Marcus. The moment he saw my face, he knew. We won? We won. He crashed into me. I held him while he cried happy tears this time instead of scared ones. I get to stay with you. You get to stay with me. Forever? As long as you want. He pulled back. What about Mom? You'll still see her, once a month, but this is your home now. Good. He wiped his eyes. Can we go home? I want to go home. We went home. The house that had been empty for so long. The house that was now full of a 9-year-old's energy and noise and life. That night, we made cinnamon rolls. The recipe I'd used when Ethan was young. Noah helped measure and mix and roll out dough. Did Dad used to make these with you? Every Saturday morning until he was too cool to hang out with his mom. I'm never going to be too cool to hang out with you. You say that now. Wait until you're 16. No, I mean it. You saved me, Grandma. You fought for me when nobody else would. Your dad fought for you first. I know, but he's not here. You are. He looked at me seriously. I'm glad it's you. The rolls baked, the house filled with cinnamon and sugar and warmth. And for the first time in months, I felt something like peace. The next few weeks were adjustment. Noah started therapy, made friends at school, brought home report cards that made me proud. We established routines, bedtime at 9, homework before TV, Saturday morning rolls. Vanessa showed up for her first scheduled visit. She was different, quieter, less polished. She and Noah talked awkwardly for 2 hours while a supervisor watched. He wasn't cruel to her, just distant, like she was someone he used to know. When I picked him up, he was quiet. You okay? Yeah, it's just weird. She asked about school and stuff, but it felt fake, like she was reading from a script. Maybe she's trying. Maybe. He looked out the window. Or maybe she's just doing what the judge said so she doesn't get in trouble. He was probably right, but I didn't say that. 3 months later, I got a call from Daniel. You're not going to believe this. What? Vanessa's signing over her parental rights. Voluntarily. I almost dropped the phone. What? She and her lawyer filed the paperwork this morning. She's relinquishing all rights and responsibilities. You'll have full legal custody. No more visitations, no more court. It's over. Why would she do that? According to her lawyer, she's moving to Costa Rica, taking a position with Cole's development company, starting fresh. And she can't do that with court-ordered obligations tying her here. So she's just abandoning him. Legally, yes. I should have felt relieved, victorious. Instead, I just felt sad. For Noah, who'd never have a real mother. For Ethan, who'd known this would happen. Does Noah have to know? Eventually, but you can tell him when you think he's ready. I waited a month, until things were stable, until he seemed settled. Then one Saturday morning, over cinnamon rolls, I told him, "Your mom's moving away, to another country. And she's decided not to be part of your life anymore." He was quiet for a long time, just picked at his role. Did I do something wrong? No, baby, this isn't about you. Then why doesn't she want me? Because some people aren't built to be parents. It's not a reflection on you. It's a reflection on her. Does this mean you're my mom now? I'm your grandmother. That's not the same. But I'm the one who'll be here. For everything. Always. He nodded slowly. Okay. Just okay? I mean, it sucks, but also... He looked at me. Also, I think I knew that she'd leave eventually. Dad knew too. That's why he made sure I'd have you. We finished breakfast in silence. Then Noah asked, "Can we plant something for Dad? Like a tree or something, so he's still here in a way?" We planted an oak tree in the backyard that afternoon. Noah read a letter he'd written to his father. Told him about school and friends and how much he missed him. Told him thank you for making sure he'd be safe. I cried through the whole thing. That night, I pulled out Ethan's letter one last time. Read the ending I'd avoided for months. Thank you, Mom. Not for winning a battle, but for protecting what mattered most when I no longer could. I know this wasn't the life you planned, raising another child at your age, fighting a war you didn't start. But you're the strongest person I know. And I trust you to give Noah what I couldn't, time, love, a real childhood. That's the inheritance that actually matters. Not money or houses or stuff, just love. Thank you for loving him the way you loved me. Thank you for being exactly who you've always been, someone who shows up, someone who stays, someone who fights. I folded the letter and put it away. Ethan was right. The inheritance that mattered wasn't property or money. It was the trust he'd placed in me. The belief that I could do this, could raise his son and give him a life worth living. Years passed. Noah grew. Became a teenager who still made cinnamon rolls with me on Saturday mornings, even when his friends thought it was uncool. Became a young man who graduated high school with honors and a scholarship to study engineering. At his graduation, he gave a speech, talked about loss and resilience and the people who show up when everything falls apart. My dad died when I was 9, he told the auditorium. And I thought my life was over. But my grandmother taught me something important, that family isn't just biology. It's who stays, who fights, who loves you even when loving you is hard. He looked at me in the audience. Grandma, this is for you. Thank you for staying. I ugly cried through the whole thing. That night, just him and me in the kitchen, he asked, "Do you ever regret it? Fighting for me? All those years of court and stress and raising a kid when you should have been retired? Never. Not once. Even when I was a moody teenager who slammed doors and rolled my eyes at everything? Especially then, because you were being a normal kid. That's what I fought for." He smiled. I turned out okay, right? You turned out better than okay. That's because of you. It's because of your dad. He knew what you needed. I just followed his instructions. No, you did more than that. He stood up. I'm going to make you proud, Grandma. I'm going to be the kind of man Dad wanted me to be. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows that you're the reason why. He kept that promise. Now he's 26, works as an engineer, calls me every Sunday without fail, brings his girlfriend over for dinner once a month, talks about building a life and maybe, someday, having kids of his own. And when he does, I know exactly what I'll tell them. That love isn't about biology or obligation or who you're supposed to choose. It's about who shows up, who stays, who fights for you even when fighting is hard. That's what Ethan taught me, what Noah taught me, what this whole terrible, beautiful journey taught me. That the inheritance that matters isn't money. It's the people who refuse to give up on you. And that's worth fighting for, every single time.